What if everything you've been taught about the future is quietly misleading you? What if the life you're reaching for isn't waiting somewhere far ahead, but breathing beside you this very second? Stay with me, because the truth unravels differently than you expect. All your life, people have told you that the future sits somewhere down the road, arriving step by step, year by year, as though it waits politely for you to grow into it. But what if the future isn't ahead at all? What if the version of you who already knows peace, love, abundance, fulfillment isn't a distant silhouette, but a living tone that already vibrates here and now, hiding in familiar space you've never learned to notice? This idea feels unsettling because it clashes with the way you were taught to understand time and progress. You were conditioned to believe in straight lines and slow climbs, when in truth, what you call the future is already active, like a signal humming in the atmosphere that your awareness has never adjusted to. Here lies the twist. The self who has everything is not inching toward existence. It is already present. You are the one learning how to match its state. Imagine standing in a room filled with countless layers of sound, voices, melodies, pulses, all suspended around you. None of them are created when you reach for them. They become audible only when you tune your attention to the right layer. And just like that, your future self is not waiting to be built years from now. It exists now, in another layer of your own consciousness, waiting for resonance, not construction. Think of how often you miss this inner counterpart. You chase goals as though they sit outside of you. You push timelines forward, stretching effort like an endless thread. But every desire is actually proof of contact, the brief brush of your current self against the presence of who you're becoming. Desire is not emptiness. It is recognition, a reminder that another expression of you already lives what you long for. The real heartbreak is not that this version of you is far away. It's that you overlook it because you were taught to search outward instead of inward. This creates a question that lingers in the mind. If this self already exists, why can't you step into it right now? Why does it feel like a silhouette you can sense but never quite hold? The answer has nothing to do with time and everything to do with resonance. You remain tuned to the energy of wanting. Your future self broadcasts from the energy of being. And wanting and being do not share the same rhythm. The more you remain in the frequency of longing, the more you affirm distance. You overlook the hidden self simply because your inner receiver is set to the wrong channel. This is where science and spirituality touch hands. In quantum mechanics, particles don't sit in simple states. They exist as many potentials at once, shifting into one form only when attention chooses it. You are the same. You rest within many possible expressions, many timelines. The one that solidifies into your lived reality is the one you emotionally align with. Neuroscience echoes this. Your brain reinforces whatever you repeatedly embody. If you rehearse lack, you become skilled at perceiving lack. If you embody abundance before any proof appears, your brain restructures itself to expect abundance. This is not imagination. This is neuroplasticity shaping identity. And the external world bends in response to the inner state you consistently stabilize. But here is the interruption you can no longer ignore. The self you seek is not distant. It is approaching you in symbols, nudges, synchronicities. Every pattern you notice, every intuitive whisper, is that version of you trying to get your attention. These moments are not accidents. They are invitations from your future self, gently reminding you, I am already here. Stop searching past me. Yet most people miss this. They dismiss the signs as coincidence, or bury them beneath relentless effort. They keep scanning the far horizon while the truth hums softly beneath their feet. Consider this. When you yearn for wealth, it isn't money calling you. It is the self who already knows abundance. When you long for love, it isn't a partner you chase. It is the self who already understands deep connection. When you crave peace, it isn't escape you seek. It is the self whose inner world has already softened into calm. Every desire is a signal pointing inward. And each time you whisper, I don't have it yet, you widen the distance. Each time you say, I am aligning with it now, the space dissolves. So why do you keep missing this hidden self? Because you were conditioned to worship effort, to measure growth in hours and years, to believe that becoming must be a long road. But the truth is far more profound. Becoming is not linear, it is vibrational. The version of you who has it all does not ask for time. It asks for alignment. You don't have to earn that self. You only have to tune to it. And once you see this, you cannot unsee it. This is where the real question opens. How do you tune into that version of yourself? What must shift in your mind, your heart, your energy for the space between wanting and being to dissolve? And how do you embody your future self so fully that reality reorganizes around it? The answers are closer than you imagine. They wait for you in the next unfolding of this journey, the place where science and spirituality begin speaking the same language, revealing how identity moves like tone and how your inner state learns to shift. To tune into the version of yourself that already lives what you desire, you must first see that identity is vibrational in nature. What you call yourself is not fixed. It is a state you hold steady. In every moment, countless variations of you exist in potential. They overlap like layers of melody resting in the unseen. The one you experience as your life is simply the field you have settled into. Choose a different state and a different reality starts to form around you. This is not symbolic. It is how consciousness operates when viewed through both quantum mechanics and the workings of the mind. Physics shows that reality is not a collection of solid objects. It is a landscape of probabilities waiting for selection. At the smallest levels, particles rest in many states until attention chooses one. Your awareness performs this choosing. It brings form out of possibility. But here's the piece most people miss. You do not shape reality with scattered thoughts. You shape it with a stable identity. Identity is not personality or history. It is the steady signal of I am. The I am you embody determines which potential becomes your lived world. If you say I am struggling, you align with one storyline. If you say I am abundant and feel the truth of it in your body, you align with another. The field responds to whatever identity you continuously radiate. Neuroscience bridges this understanding. The brain reshapes itself based on repeated emotion and interpretation. If you live in a state of lack, your neurons strengthen that pattern until it becomes the familiar lens through which you see life. The mind filters out everything that does not match this identity. Moments of possibility pass by unnoticed because your perception is tuned away from them. But when you rehearse new states like gratitude or grounded certainty, the brain reorganizes. Your inner chemistry shifts. This is measurable. Your identity is written into patterns of neural firing that transform as your state transforms. Spiritual teachings have echoed this truth long before science had language for it. Neville Goddard taught that assumption shapes experience. You must live from the end, not hope for it. Ancient wisdom teaches that everything moves at frequency, and similar states draw each other close. Modern teachers like Joe Dispenza show how intention, combined with elevated emotion, creates coherence that the body and the field both respond to. Across all traditions, the message repeats. Identity is frequency, and frequency governs creation. This leads to the question that lingers. If it is this simple, why do so few people step into their future self with ease? Why do old patterns return even when someone knows what they desire to become? The answer is resistance. Many people unconsciously cling to their current identity because it feels familiar. The brain prefers what it knows, even if that knowing is painful. Paths carved by years of I am not enough do not fade in a single moment. So a person may speak abundance while quietly embodying lack. They may imagine wholeness while still carrying the energy of separation. The field responds, but it responds to what is coherent, not what is spoken. Trying fails for this reason. The underlying identity remains unchanged. Think of two notes ringing through the air. When they share the same pitch, they influence each other effortlessly. When they differ, there is no meeting point. The field works this way. You cannot imitate resonance. You cannot force alignment through empty repetition. You must become the tone of the self you seek. When you do, alignment happens naturally. Reality organizes itself around the identity you hold steady. Psychology calls this self-concept. Every choice you make is shaped by the story you believe about who you are. If you believe you are someone who struggles, you will unconsciously close doors to confirm that belief. If you believe you are someone who grows with ease, You recognize opportunities others overlook. The outer world seems different not because it has randomly shifted, but because your identity placed you in a new layer of experience. Here is the shift you must keep in your awareness. Your future self is not distant. It is already alive, already vibrating. You are not creating it. You are learning how to reach its signal. The distance between you and the self who already has what you seek is not measured in days, months, or years. It is measured in vibration. And vibration is available to you this very moment through conscious choice, through coherence, through practiced attention. The challenge is not that this self does not exist. It is that you keep overlooking it by reinforcing a frequency that does not serve you. Science of identity frequencies reveals a radical simplicity. You are not tethered to the past. You are not waiting for a distant tomorrow. Every thought, every feeling, every declaration of I am selects from infinite versions of yourself, collapsing one into your experience. And here's the deeper paradox. The very act of wanting may keep you tuned away from the self who already has it. Most people believe that intense longing is fuel. The more they chase, the more they affirm, the faster they imagine it will arrive. But wanting and being operate on entirely different vibrations. Wanting resonates with absence. Being vibrates with fulfillment. The field responds not to words, not to hope, but to the reality of the vibration you embody. Imagine standing before a mirror. You whisper, you plead, you wait. Nothing shifts. The reflection changes only when you first embody it, when you step into the act, the state, the being. Wanting is asking the mirror to change before you do. Being is the action that transforms the reflection. The vibrational gap between wanting and being is the delay you experience in manifestation. The longer you linger in wanting, the wider the gap grows. Science confirms this. Neuroscience shows that when your focus rests on absence, your brain encodes it as reality. Your prefrontal cortex highlights proof of not yet. Your reticular activating system filters the world to reinforce it. You literally wire your perception to scarcity. On the quantum level, the principle is identical. Observing from a state of lack collapses probabilities into outcomes of lack. You think you are calling abundance, but you are stabilizing absence. And yet desire itself is not the problem. Desire is sacred. It signals that another version of you already exists. The trap lies in confusing desire with yearning, locking yourself into the frequency of not yet. The solution is transmutation. Shift from I want this to I am this, from distance to arrival, from longing to embodiment. Reality responds not to your words, but to your state. Spiritual teachers have long pointed to this. Neville Goddard taught that living from the end allows you to feel now what your future self already feels. Joe Dispenza explains that elevated emotion aligned with clear intention creates measurable coherence. Broadcasting a signal the quantum field mirrors back. The law of vibration speaks plainly. Like attracts like. Wanting attracts more wanting. Being attracts the thing itself. Consider a simple example. One person craves love. They repeat daily, I want connection, I want a partner. But their frequency is loneliness. Every thought, every emotion carries absence. The field reflects faithfully, and their reality echoes isolation. Another person embodies love before it arrives. They treat themselves with care, radiate openness, live as though love is natural and inevitable. Without force, they align with the version of themselves who is already loved. The field mirrors that being. The difference is not in the words spoken. It is in the frequency held, the state embodied. Here is the subtle truth. Longing feels strong, but it masks weakness. It convinces you that yearning equals attraction, when in truth, yearning often repels. The more you crave, the more the gap persists. The more you embody, the more it dissolves. This idea disrupts conventional thinking because culture trains us to equate striving with progress. Yet in manifestation, striving is often a sign of separation. Being is the sign of alignment. And here is the next puzzle. How do you embody what you do not yet see? How do you live as the self who already has it when every sense insists otherwise? This is where practice transforms into art. Imagination becomes not fantasy, but rehearsal. Neuroscience confirms that vividly imagined experiences light up the same neural pathways as real ones. Imagination bridges the distance between wanting and being. Spiritually, visualization has always served this purpose. Not to escape, not to daydream, but to rehearse the frequency of being until the body accepts it as truth. The vibrational gap closes not with external proof, but with internal coherence. When your thoughts, emotions, and physical presence align with already having, the field responds. Reality waits for resonance, not permission. You are not denied. You are delayed by the vibration of wanting. Collapse into being, and the delay dissolves. The paradox sharpens. The version of you who already has it is never out of reach. It is out of tune. Wanting keeps you on the wrong station. Being shifts the dial. The gap is not measured in time. It is vibration. Bridge it, and manifestation moves from effort into inevitability. This leads to the next question. How do you tune in to that future self with precision? How do you embody it so fully that reality cannot distinguish between who you were and who you are becoming? This is where imagination, coherence, and embodiment merge. Tuning into the version of yourself who already has it is not a mental exercise. It is an act of embodiment. You cannot think your way there. Repeating affirmations will not shift reality if your body vibrates with lack. To embody your future self means stepping into it so completely that your thoughts, feelings, and posture reflect it naturally. Reality responds to your state, not your words. Imagine an actor preparing for a role. A skilled actor does not merely memorize lines. They become the character. They adopt the posture, tone, and inner life of the role until it feels real. Manifestation works the same way. Your future self is a role already written in the field. The question is, are you willing to inhabit it fully, not as performance, but as identity? When you do, imagination and reality blur. You are no longer waiting, you are being. Neuroscience explains why this matters. The body cannot distinguish between vividly rehearsed experiences and real ones. Athletes who only visualize movements strengthen the same neural pathways as those who physically train. Your brain wires itself to embody what you practice in imagination. When you inhabit the state of your future self, feeling, breathing, walking as though it is already true, your body encodes that reality. External proof is no longer necessary. Internal evidence becomes your anchor. The quantum field mirrors the coherence your body sustains. Spiritually, this has always been the teaching. Neville Goddard urged living in the end. Don't imagine the process. Imagine the result. Feel what it is like to already be there. Joe Dispenza calls this the memory of the future, installing the emotional signature of your desired reality now so the field can organize events to match. Across traditions, the Bible, the Tao, the Vedas, the same truth repeats. Faith is not belief in what will come. Faith is embodiment of what already is. But here is the curiosity loop. How do you know you are embodying rather than pretending? Pretending feels like strain. Embodiment feels like ease. Pretending whispers, I hope this becomes real. Embodiment states, this is who I am now. Pretending is brittle, broken by circumstance. Embodiment is resilient, anchored in coherence regardless of what the senses report. That is how you know the state persists even before reality rearranges. You are living as proof. A metaphor makes this clearer. Picture a tuning fork. Strike it and it hums a singular pitch. Place another fork tuned to the same note nearby and it begins to vibrate without touch. That is resonance. Your future self is already vibrating in the field. When you embody its state, you strike the same frequency. Resonance does the rest. You do not force the vibration. It moves because the frequency is coherent. Your reality cannot help but respond to the coherence you hold. Here is the subtle disruption most overlook. People often try to act their way into their future self by changing habits while still anchored in their old identity. It never works. Behavior follows identity, never the other way around. When you embody the state first, actions flow naturally. The person who identifies as healthy does not wrestle endlessly with diet. They simply live in alignment. The person who embodies abundance does not obsess over every expense. They act from trust, from coherence. You don't force the movement. It emerges from the state you inhabit. Psychology calls this the self-fulfilling prophecy. Belief and embodiment guide your subconscious to align behaviors with the identity you hold. Your outer world reorganizes around the inner coherence you sustain. The more consistently you embody the state, the faster the reflection appears in your life. Pause and imagine. What shifts if you stop waiting and begin embodying now? If tomorrow you woke fully as that version of yourself, how would your posture change? Your tone, your energy? How would you move through the day differently? These small shifts are not minor. They are anchors of alignment. The universe does not need you to force. It needs you to embody. To anchor this truth, make a declaration, not to me, but to yourself, to the field. Say it aloud or write it. I am tuning into my future self. This is not engagement. This is frequency. You signal coherence, announcing that you are no longer identifying with the version waiting in delay. You are tuning in now. But embodiment does not instantly drop reality in full. Fragments appear first. Signs, synchronicities, subtle nudges. The full picture unfolds gradually, piece by piece, never all at once. The mind craves certainty, but this incomplete puzzle is not a flaw. It is the design. The universe delivers in fragments so you can engage, adapt, and evolve. Think of a puzzle. Scattered pieces seem meaningless at first. Try to force them, and they resist. Relax. Let the edges and colors guide you, and patterns emerge naturally. You still do not see the full image, but the fragments show progress, keeping you moving. Manifestation works the same way. The universe rarely hands the complete picture at once. Instead, it offers moments, opportunities, subtle energy shifts, confirming alignment and sustaining your journey. Science mirrors this beautifully. Quantum mechanics shows outcomes emerging through probability, not certainty. Infinite possibilities exist, but only one collapses into form at a time. The field reveals coherence gradually, guiding you, piece by piece, toward the reality you are becoming. Embodiment is the key. Resonance is the bridge. Alignment is the practice. And as you tune fully, the gap between wanting and being dissolves, leaving nothing but the inevitability of who you already are. Reality does not unfold all at once. It streams like a film, frame by frame, revealing its story gradually. If you demanded to see the final scene before the first, the magic would vanish. The mystery, the learning, the becoming, it all would dissolve. Manifestation works the same way. It arrives in fragments, subtle hints, small confirmations, because it is never only about the destination, it is about who you are becoming in the process. Neuroscience whispers the same truth. The brain learns best in increments, through repetition, through small, steady reinforcement. If you tried to embody your entire future self all at once, it would resist. Overwhelmed by the gap, your nervous system would shut down. But when reality delivers piece by piece, your brain adapts, rewires, and stabilizes the new identity naturally. The incomplete puzzle protects you. It ensures sustainable transformation. Spiritually, this has always been known. Ancient texts speak of daily bread, enough for the moment, never the full storehouse at once. The Tao describes life as flowing step by step, drop by drop, never rushing to completion. Mystics remind us that faith is required precisely because the picture is incomplete. If everything were revealed at once, trust would be unnecessary, growth shallow, and free will irrelevant. The incomplete puzzle is the playground of becoming. Why then do we resist it so fiercely? Because the ego craves control. It wants the full map, the guarantee, the certainty before taking a step. But manifestation does not respond to demands. It responds to your willingness to trust alignment without evidence. Each fragment is not proof of delay. It is proof of motion, of unfolding, of orchestration. You are not failing. You are being guided. Consider a story. A woman dreams of a new career. The full job does not appear instantly. Instead, she receives fragments. A conversation that sparks inspiration, a book that deepens her skill, an invitation to a workshop. None is the complete answer, yet together they form the path. Looking back, She sees the puzzle assembling itself. The delay was never absence. It was alignment, orchestrated piece by piece. Here is the subtle pattern interrupt. The incomplete puzzle is protection, not punishment. It allows you to embody the frequency step by step, stabilizing your identity before the full picture manifests. If everything appeared at once, you might collapse under it, unable to hold coherence. Fragments give you the space to integrate, evolve, and become the self-capable of sustaining what you once only desired. The puzzle is incomplete by design. Alignment without effort means trusting the process. It means you stop forcing every piece into place at once. You honor each fragment as enough for now. Every synchronicity, every subtle shift is a stroke of the larger picture forming. You no longer demand completion before you act. You move with what is present. Paradoxically, when you stop trying to finish the puzzle, it completes itself around you. The universe withholds nothing. It delivers in a way that ensures coherence. Alignment without effort is not passivity, it is trust. It is the art of moving with fragments until the whole vibrates into being. You embody the state and allow the puzzle of your life to assemble itself in perfect timing. The field never denies you, it only prepares you. What happens when you stop chasing fragments and start living as the complete version of yourself? When you no longer seek external confirmation, but radiate the certainty that your future self is already present, everything shifts. This is the closing step of the journey, the moment when tuning in becomes living as the frequency itself. You stop rehearsing the future and fully step into it as your identity. This is the highest level of manifestation, where effort dissolves and life flows naturally from coherence. You no longer search for signs because you become the sign. You no longer wait for proof because you radiate certainty. You live not as someone aligning with the future, but as the living frequency of the future itself. The shift is subtle yet profound. Acting as though leaves a trace of separation, a hint of pretending. But living as the version that already has it closes the gap entirely. You move differently, breathe differently, and carry yourself with quiet knowing, because reality must reflect the coherence you embody. Science confirms this. Heart-brain coherence generates electromagnetic fields that influence the environment. Elevated states, gratitude, love, wholeness, create measurable patterns of stability. These patterns affect not only your body, but the field around you, nudging outcomes toward alignment. You are not waiting for reality to deliver. You are radiating the frequency that collapses it into form. Spiritually, this has always been the teaching. Mystics said, be still and know, not try, not chase, not plead, simply be. Neville Goddard insisted on fully assuming the wish fulfilled, letting it become your natural identity. Joe Dispenza calls it becoming your future self. These are not just poetic ideas, they are instructions for coherence. Even when you embody this coherence, life continues to surprise you. The field keeps expanding, offering new frequencies and possibilities, new versions of yourself waiting to be tuned into. Living as the version that already has it does not end the journey. It elevates it. Entirely new desires arise, born not of lack, but of expansion. Imagine climbing a mountain. At the base, you struggle desperately. Halfway up, you glimpse the summit. But when you embody the climber who belongs on the peak, the ascent itself transforms. You move with ease, rhythm, and trust. Reaching the summit is not the end. It reveals more mountains beyond, calling you higher. Living as the version that already has it is not about finishing the puzzle. It is about realizing you are the puzzle itself, constantly unfolding into greater coherence. You do not need external proof. You are allowed to embody your future self now, without evidence or validation. Paradoxically, the moment you stop waiting, the evidence appears naturally. The universe is not holding back. It is waiting for you to stop holding back. When you decide to live as the version who already has it, the distance collapses. You are no longer moving toward it, you are becoming it.